Our first speaker is going to be Liesel Sherwood-Adcock from Eskom Palmiet Visitors Centre. I will briefly share about her talk in a moment. So her talk is titled The Story Behind the Switch. So through her talk, we'll be discovering the story behind the switch, which will be an online introduction to Palmiet Visitors Centre, which is located here in the Western Cape, just a few kilometers outside Somerset West, which is a few kilometers from Cape Town. Okay. Over to you, Liesel. You can unmute your microphone and you can share your screen.
I did all of that, but then I forgot to unmute myself.
Okay.
I'm very technically, logically challenged, so this could be interesting.
That's interesting.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Namaste, for that introduction. I'm not going to keep you all long. It's an afternoon session, but pretty much what I wanted to do with my talk was just to introduce the Palmiet Visitors Centre and tell you about, because from what I understand, I'm speaking to school teachers in the Western Cape. So I pretty much wanted to remind you or tell you about the Palmiet Visitors Centre, which is based at one of Eskom's hydroelectric power stations in Grabo. Now, I'm sure when you all heard Eskom was here, I'm sure we are the company that everybody loves to hate, and you sort of thought, well, what the heck, Eskom, you know? But anyway, let me, my background in Eskom is I started in Eskom in 1999. No, I lie, 1992. Goodness, it's been so far back, I forget. And I joined the power station. I moved to the power station in 1999. So I've got my blood is blue. I love my company and I'm very passionate about sharing my company with the public out there, especially our learners, because there's such great career opportunities for our learners within Eskom. Many of our learners, when you talk about career opportunities within Eskom, their immediate assumption is that Eskom, electricity, electrical engineering. But what they don't realize, and what they realize after they visited our facility, is that Eskom has a huge workforce of mechanical engineers, civil engineers, finance people, human resources. Eskom is not only just electrical engineers or just electricians. So just to kick off, obviously, why will my screen not move forward? Let's go over here. This is how technology. Can you all still hear me? There we go. So just looking at Eskom, Eskom has got 4 visitor centers, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visitor centers within our environment. We've got the one at Palmiet, which I represent. We have then got a visitor center at our Letaba coal power station in the Free State. We have then got, I'm sure you may have heard about Coburg, a visitor center here in the Western Cape. And then we've got 2 in KwaZulu-Natal, the Drakensberg and the Ngula Pumped Storage Scheme. So those are our 5 visitor centers, and we all offer the same sort of program. At Palmiet, our program, what it normally covers is the visit takes between 2 to 3 hours. You have to make a booking. The visits are free of charge, which is great. You just as a teacher or as a school need to arrange your transport, and it is free. Our program here at Palmiet, we primarily focus on grade 5 to 7 learners. Any grade that you would like to bring, you could bring your grade 5s, you could bring your grade 6s, and then, but even also your grade 7s. But what we normally suggest with our primary school learners is that if you bring your grade 5s or 6s to us, to Palmiet, hydroelectricity is an easy concept, but then in grade 7, we suggest you then take them to visit Coburg, our nuclear power station, because the nuclear concept is a little bit complicated. So sometimes it's much easier if you bring them to us first, because we're easy. Hydroelectricity is an easy concept to understand, and then you take them to Coburg in grade 7. With regards to high school learners, we also have high schools that visit us. In high school, our program isn't relevant for a specific, whether it's science or history or whatever. We sort of say to the teachers, you can bring your high school learners in any grade. You could also bring any subject. If you want to bring your business students to visit us, you could bring them, and then you could take back our annual report back in the classroom and go through your the annual report in terms of business. But high school learners, you can bring any learner from grade 8 right up to matric. It's entirely up to the teacher or the educators on who they would like to bring. Things that we discuss while you're at the visitor centre. What normally traditionally happens is we start off at our visitor centre. We can accommodate 60 learners per day. So if you've got quite a number of learners, we suggest that you book a couple of days and bring 60 learners each day. We cover things like the electricity supply chain. How does the electricity get from where we make it at the power station to where you, at the end of the day, use it at home or in industry? So we cover that supply chain. We cover Eskom's national grid and how it operates. I'm sure you'll hear in the media a lot that Eskom talks or refers to our national grid. So we talk about that and how it functions and how it is all put together. We also cover electricity safety. We cover the basic principles of how we generate electricity, the basic principles of electricity generation. And then we look at the different energy sources that we use for electricity generation. Here at Palmiet, we then focus on the operations of a pumped storage scheme. How do we actually generate at this particular power station? And then we actually, if it's a high school group, we actually then also talk about our other role, which is our water transfer. Palmiet Power Station does not only generate electricity, we also assist the Department of Water Affairs in the winter to transfer water from one river system into another river system. And just as a matter of interest, from what I understand, the Palmiet Pumped Storage Scheme is a case study in the geography textbook for grade 10 or 11. So we do get a lot of geography students that visit us at Palmiet. And then the highlight of our visit is that once the learners have had a bit of a break, and they've had their snacks and they've gotten rid of all their energy, we then put them back into the bus and we take them down to the power station where they can go and view where the machines are located that actually generate the electricity. And I'll show you one or two photographs just now about where we take them. So the objective of a visit to Palmiet is just to tell the Eskom story, because not only there's a lot of questions out there in terms of Eskom, so that all those questions come out during the presentation. And also it's just a way that you can use a visit to us to back what you're teaching the learners back in the classroom. So they actually get to see visually where the electricity actually comes from that you're talking about in the classroom and that they're using at school. So those are just a few of the topics that we cover. In terms of Palmiet, that is our power station that you see at the bottom there. As I mentioned, it's a hydroelectric power station. We get our water from the Palmiet River. That is the Palmiet River that is flowing past our power station. It starts in the Grabo Mountains and it goes out to the sea. The mouth of the river is in Betty's Bay, Kleinmont. So that is our bottom dam. That is where our water collects. That we use to generate the electricity. So Palmiet Power Station forms part of a group of power stations that we refer to as peaking generation. And We are a group of 14 power stations scattered throughout the country, we are geographically located. Each power station is small. Our smallest is our Acacia and Port Rex. You'll see it in the bottom corner there. I think it's my left. Acacia and Port Rex, they are they are diesel power stations. They're 171 megawatts each. And then our biggest would be Ingula, and Unkellig. Ingula is our pump storage scheme, 1,300 megawatts. And Unkellig, you'll hear them referred to Unkellig, is based here in Cape Town in Atlantis, also approximately 1,300 megawatts as well. So we are a group of 14 power stations, as I say, and we are the group of power stations that they will use during peak times. So we are not power stations that will generate 24 hours a day. We will come online during the peaks. So our mornings and our evenings to supplement the grid and to keep the grid stable. So each individually, we are small, but put us together as a group, and we supply approximately 5,894 megawatts onto the grid. So in total, we are a huge business unit, but individually we are tiny and we are scattered throughout the countryside. So that is peaking generation, and I am based at Palmiet, as I said, which is this power station at the bottom here. And we generate 400 megawatts onto the grid. So 400 megawatts is probably about enough electricity to supply about 16 small towns with electricity. But it is important to note that no specific power station generates electricity for the town it is built next to. So this is a concept that I explain to the learners when we talk about our national grid, because you may have a power station in your back garden, but because it's connected to the grid, it is not generating electricity for that area it is surrounded by. Each power station, we build our power station where the energy is that we're going to use to generate the electricity. And all that happens is that electricity that power station is generating just goes out into Eskom's national grid, out onto the power lines. So Palmiet has got 2 power lines that connect. Oh, okay. No, let's start off here. This is how, are we all still here? Is everybody, can I have a bit of a thumbs up from some of our people, please?
Yep.
I feel like I'm speaking you feel like you're just speaking into an open hole. There we go. I'm seeing some hands. Excellent. So you're probably wondering, what is a pump storage scheme? Well, a pump storage scheme is a hydroelectric power station with a bit of a twist. In a hydroelectric power station, you build the power station next to the river. The water comes in, generates the electricity, water goes down the river. So if there's no rainfall that season and there's no water in the river, we cannot use that power station. But we all know that hydro, water energy, is a fantastic form of energy. But it's a form of energy that we do not have a lot of in South Africa. And that is where the pump storage scheme comes in. Because how we operate is we have 2 dams. We have an upper dam, which in our case, you'll see it's called Rockview Dam. And for those of you who ever travel up Solaris Pass on the way to Caledon or Hermanus, if you pass Steenbras Dam and you keep on looking on your right-hand side, you will notice grey rock walls. Those are the dam walls of Rockview Dam. That is literally our bucket of water in the mountain. So that is where we store our water that we use for generation. And then on the left of the image, you will see we've got our bottom dam, which is called Kogelberg Dam in our case, and it's built on the Palmiet River. So in a pump storage scheme, you will have 2 dams, and the water will just go back and forth between these 2 dams. So being a peak load power station, we will get our call from the control room in Johannesburg, and they will say to us, Palmiet, switch on, you need to generate electricity. We will then open our valve at the bottom, Like when you want a glass of water, you go to the tap, you open your tap, you fill up your glass. Once your glass is full, you close the tap. So we have a tap at the bottom of our pipeline that opens, stops and starts the water. So we will open our tap, the water will come rushing through the mountain, down the mountain. The water will turn the unit, and we will send out our electricity onto the national grid. Once we have used the water will collect at our dam at the bottom. So I'm going to use my mouse I'm going to use my mouse here. You can see there's the water will collect at the bottom. Once we have done that, once we supplemented the grid and the grid is stabilized, we will get a call from the control room to switch off our units. So we will switch off our units, but now obviously all the water is at the bottom dam. And so now we need to pump it back up again. And this we're going to do during our off-peak times. So during our off-peak times, late at night, we will use the exact same machine. And it now becomes an electrically operated pump. And we will pump the water from Kogelberg Dam all the way back up to Rockview Dam so that we can once again tomorrow reuse that water to generate. So we are a pumped storage scheme. So that is the difference between a hydroelectric power station and a pumped storage scheme. And this one, Palmiet, and then we have our Drakensberg and Ngula. Just in terms of what our units look like, this is what our unit looks like. It's actually, for those of you who've never been here before, our power station is buried 25 stories underground in the mountains. And our machine here, you can see it here. This is our unit. This is our generating unit. It is as high as a 5-story building buried underground. So here is our generator. Here's our rotor and our stator. Obviously, the basic principles for generating electricity. If you take a magnet, you wrap it in a coil of wires. If you turn that magnet inside those wires, you're going to generate electricity. The magnet we refer to the rotor, the wires we call the stator. So there's our rotor, there's our stator. Here is our shaft, and onto the shaft we've got a turbine. If you turn the turbine, it's going to turn the shaft, which is going to turn the generator. You will generate electricity. So this is our generating unit. As I said, it is as high as a 5-story building buried underground. Our turbine weighs 200 tons. Our magnet isn't shaped like a horseshoe. It's round, and it weighs 320 tons. Our stator on the side here, 280. There you can actually get an idea of where Fred is standing, of the size of the units. Everything above his head over here, this is electrical, and everything below is mechanical. So that is what our unit looks like, and you can actually see, here it is over here. Can you see that? There is our generating. Our unit is not horizontal, it is vertical. At a coal-fired power station, at a thermal station, the unit will be horizontal. Our unit is vertical. There are the power lines that you can see coming out of the power station that will take our electricity out onto the grid, onto the national grid. We have got 2 power lines that connect us onto Eskom's grid. The one power line goes over Solaris Pass and connects into the grid at Bellville. There's a big substation there by the name of Stickland. So that is where our electricity goes into there. And then we have another power line for those of you who go down Hohoek Pass. You'll see that there's a big power line that goes down Hohoek Pass. There it is. That is where that power line goes over, down Hohoek Pass and joins into the grid at Worcester. There's a big substation there called Bacchus. So those are our power lines that you can see coming out of the station. This is ground level of the power station. I said to you that our power station is built 25 stories underground. Now, this is not an area that I would take the learners to, because on the other side of this railing is a hole in the ground that you can fit a 20-story building into. And right here, you can see at the bottom photograph on the left hand here, you can see there's a viewing window. And that is where I would take the learners to, so they can view down these shafts and get the feel of the power station. The generating units are at the bottom of this big hole in the ground. Underneath this little tent at the bottom here, there's a round red cover, and underneath that red cover is our 5 stories worth of generating unit. So this is great. You know, you can actually take the learners into the power station and they can feel and see the hugeness of electricity being generated. This is our big tap. For the grade 9 learners in technology, they will learn about hydraulics. So this is our huge big tap. It weighs 180 tons. You can't buy this tap from Builder's Warehouse. This is the tap that stops and starts the water that's coming from Rockview Dam. This is just a waterway, and just to give you sort of an idea of the system. So we have Rockview Dam here on the left and Kogelberg on the right. We have a pipeline under the mountain. You could drive a double-decker bus through that pipe. It's so big. There's approximately 180 tons of water per second coming down that pipe, traveling at about 60 kilometers an hour. And that is what is turning the generating unit at the bottom here. And then the water will collect at the bottom dam. You may or may not have noticed, once again, if ever you travel on the N2, you may, in this area, you may notice this big, this concrete tower. It's pretty much a landmark in the area. That is our surge tank. It's called the surge tank. It's our huge big shock absorber. And it is actually built on our pipeline and helps with the water surges in the pipe. Because you can imagine when we close this tap to switch the units off and to stop the water surges in that pipe will be huge. And that is why we've got the surge tank, because it just helps with the water surges in the pipe so that the pipes don't burst when we close the tap at the bottom. And pretty much, Navasti, that is all I wanted to share with you guys in the group or in the presentation, just to remind you of us and to say at any time you are more than welcome. All you need to do is just drop me an email and we can organize to arrange an excursion to the visitor center. And I don't know how much time I have left. What is my time frame?
It is 15:35.
So do I have?
You can end, but you still have probably.
Do I have 15 minutes to show you a video?
Oh yeah, you still have about 25 minutes. Actually.
Oh, goody! So I've got time to show you a video.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Would anybody like to ask me a question? Yes, no, maybe.
Feel free, colleagues, to ask questions.
Yes, Serena?
So thank you, Liesel. Thank you for the very informative sketch of the electricity and how it's generated. So we will be mindful of that process the next time we complain about Eskom.
Absolutely. And if you come and visit us at the visitor center and you give me an opportunity, you'll be even more mindful, because then you will understand.
Then we will understand. The other thing is I wanted to ask, generating an electricity is also not an easy process, and it's also a process fraught with so many things can go wrong. So you spoke about the water and switching off the water, and it also creates a great deal of pressure. What other safety measures, and to what extent you're going with putting safety measures in place at Palmiet, for example?
Yeah, look, one of our biggest risks at Palmiet would be flooding. So obviously we have a lot of, there's statutory requirements that we need to inspect our waterways every so many months, legal requirements. We have to inspect our waterways to ensure that everything is in order there. In each of our dams, we've got concrete structures with emergency gates. So should there be an alarm or should there be a risk of flooding, those emergency gates will immediately close or
So
shut
that
down to,
is for that,
yeah.
for the personnel in that 25-story deep tunnels.
Look, you know, safety is very important. So safety is obviously something, but the reality is we're working with a lot of water here. And we've got to make sure that our safety systems and our maintenance is top notch.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're not looking after your facility, then obviously the dangers are there for emergencies. But you know, we do maintenance here at Palmiet, and safety is taken very seriously within Eskom. You know,
yes.
because of the nature of what we're working with, it's very, very important. So I hope that answers your question, you know, in as much as I can.
Yes, I think also just that we tend to underestimate the dangers associated with electricity.
Totally.
And it's not just a simple process of the turbine turns and then the energy is transferred to the generator to convert it. There's a lot of elements in that process that needs to be carefully monitored and observed. Yes.
Yeah.
And electricity can be dangerous, so as well as electricity generation is dangerous.
Totally.
So
it's one of the things that I try and emphasize particularly when I have schools coming from our rural community. Oh no, I can't even say that. No, when I have any school really, is that electricity is a very good servant. It makes our life a lot easier. The problem is we do not respect it.
Yes.
And that is when it becomes dangerous and will kill you. And so we need to teach our learners that we need to respect electricity.
Yes.
And depending on the, you know, when the learners visit and depending on the interaction from the learners, you know, we talk about electricity safety and illegal connections and why it's so important for you to pay your electricity bill. But it also, you know, our visits are not static. This is what we cover. It also, the visit can go many different ways depending on the interaction from the learners. So, no, electricity, we need to respect it. These illegal connections, the people that are stealing it, I take my hat off to them.
Yeah.
They're very brave.
They're taking their lives into their own hands.
Totally.
And I must commend you, Liesel. I brought my learners for many years to Palmiet Power Station. That was always our yearly trip.
Really?
So that was way back when, I won't tell you when, because I know some people in this group are very good at maths.
So what? Embrace your age. Embrace your age.
There we go. But it was always a lovely trip for my learners, especially those who live in a township and never get out from that. And driving up the mountain and, you know, from the vantage point from the top and looking over Cape Town, it was a tremendous experience for them. So I certainly encourage teachers to take the opportunity to take their learners to on the trip. And then another thing for my learners was the thought of, when we speak about hydroelectricity and it's right on our doorstep where it's generated, and the dams and the water, etc. But the aha was when we could look down on the turbines and they could actually see the size of those blades. You know, it was a wonderful experience for them. Thank you.
Perhaps have some future engineers or little rocket scientists in the group.
There we go.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Serena.
Okay. So over to Novosti.
Novosti,
over to you, Liesel.
What I'm going to do now
is
something? Yes, I wanted to just put my video on of peaking generation, which this is not a video that we would show to the primary school learners. This is something that we would show to our older learners and our adult groups. So it's just a bit of background about peaking generation and electricity generation. So let me just get to it quickly and put it on.
Perfect.
Okay.
As the name suggests, peaking power stations provide power during peak periods, which is normally during the morning peaks and the evening peaks when the demand is higher on the Eskom grid. It also provides emergency power. So anytime when there is a need for power that's not supplied from the other fleet, like the nuclear stations and the coal stations, the peaking stations are called upon to provide that emergency power. Within peaking, we've got 14 power stations distributed in various parts of the country. The total installed capacity is 5,894 megawatts. So in terms of installed capacity, it is the largest business unit in generation. In a normal power grid, we have the coal fleet and the nuclear fleet. They provide constant power throughout the day and night. That's the most efficient way of operating those power plants. So they provide constant power. But what we have within our country is we have normally within the mornings and in the evenings, the demand profile increases substantially. So it doesn't make sense then to operate for that period the coal fleet and the nuclear fleet at higher output. That's when the peaking power plants come into effect. We supply power to the grid during those peak demand periods. And the peaking power plants are very quick responsive units. Unlike a traditional coal plant, it takes many hours to start up to get to full load. The peaking power plants can run up from 0 megawatts to full load within 3 minutes. So we've got 3 pump storage schemes: Palmiet, Drakensberg, as well as in Gula. So those technologies work differently in that you've got 2 dams. You've got a top dam and you've got a bottom dam. And essentially, during times of power requirements, you will then release water from the top dam. It'll run through the turbine, it'll provide power to the grid, and the water then goes to the bottom dam. During times of low demand, what we then tend to do is we pump that water from the bottom dam back up to the top dam when it's required the next time around to provide power again. So essentially, it's like a large battery on the power grid. You're charging when you're pumping up and you're discharging when you're letting the water release from the top dam.
Palmiet Pumped Storage Scheme provides 400 megawatts to the grid. We've got the upper dam and the lower dam. When we generate, the water comes from the upper dam through our penstock, goes to the turbine, and the turbine, the shaft is connected to the generator. When it produces electricity, we go up to the transformer, step-up transformer, we go up to the transmission yard, and then we go to the grid. When we pump in most of the time at night. So we pump the water from Kocherberg to the Rockview Dam using the same penstock.
It's peak time now, so we're actually generating at the moment. We've got 2 units, both generating 200 megawatts each. That's probably about enough electricity to probably supply about 16 small towns with electricity.
Drakensberg is a pump storage scheme. Our operation is that we generate and we also pump. So during low demand, we pump. And we are also essential for the control of the voltage in the system, because we know that our network is vast, so there's a lot of differences in the voltage. So Drakensberg comes in handy. We've got a mode that is called SCO, which is synchronous condenser operations. In that mode, we just run just to control the voltage in the system and absorb the megawatts.
The upper dam, we call it a drip cloth. When we pump the water from the bottom dam, it comes from Kilburn Dam through our turbines, it accumulates into drip cloth dam. Drakensberg alone can power a city as big as Durban.
Ingula is the biggest pumped storage scheme in the continent. Ingula itself, it's spanning over 2 provinces. This is Free State and KZN. In the Free State side, we have the Bedford Dam, which is a top dam. At the KZN side, you got a Bramuk Dam, which is a bottom dam. Then you got a powerhouse where all the machines are situated. The way to access the powerhouse, you have to drive 1.4 kilometers underground. The entire powerhouse is situated 370 meters below surface.
As Ingula, we will be able to power almost the entire of the KZN.
We've got the large hydros that we've called the Harip and Panakloof on the Orange River, and we've also got the smaller hydros that are situated in the Eastern Cape.
Harip Power Station is a hydropower station whereby we are having 4 units, which each unit is generating 90 megawatts. In total, we are generating 360 megawatts when we are running all 4 of them.
The water comes from the dam, it goes through a turbine, and then the turbine will turns about 136 RPMs, and then it goes out again. So it just goes through the spiral casing through the turbine into the river.
We generate the power at the power station, and we generate 120 megawatts per unit. That's a total of 240 megawatts, which is roughly around enough to power a city like Bloemfontein.
We are in the control room of Panakloof Power Station. This is where the units are monitored. The units are started and stopped every time we need to generate.
We've also got the open cycle gas turbines. We've got Ankerluk situated in Cape Town, and we've got Gorikwa situated in Mossel Bay. Those power stations run on diesel currently and have the ability to run on natural gas. The open cycle gas turbines are very critical when it comes to supporting the grid during times of peak as well as emergency power. Over the years, they have been used extensively to help prevent load shedding or help prevent further stages of load shedding, which has been very, very supportive to the grid. These units can also run, some of them in SEO mode, so they can also run to support the grid in helping balance the voltage as well.
Ankerluk was built in 2 phases. Ankerluk 1, where we are now, was built in 2007. Ankerluk 2 was built 2 years later, and we are currently busy with Ankerluk 3 as well.
What basically happened is we've got diesel, where we ignite it using ignition gas. We take air from the atmosphere, we pressurize it. You suck the air, you compress it, you burn it with diesel. The explosion that you get, you turn the turbine, which turns the generator to produce electricity.
We have 9 turbines at Ankalik. The 4 that we have here at Ankalik 1 are 148 megawatts, and then we have 5 at Ankalik 2, which are 147 megawatts. So in total, we produce 1,327 megawatts.
We've got the smaller gas turbines as well. They're called Acacia and Portrex. Portrex is situated in East London. So they're 171 megawatts each. They are smaller turbines. We tend to use them very infrequently when it's really desperate times and we need to supply demand during the peak in the peak. Acacia is situated in Cape Town. So it provides peak power when we require it as well as emergency power. But another very critical role of Acacia is that it's the off-site supply for Koeberg Power Station. We've got the wind farm situated in Vredendal. It's called the Serra Wind Farm. That plant has been commissioned quite recently as one of our flagship renewables projects within Eskom and has been performing reliably for the years since commissioning.
Serra Wind Farm has a nominal capacity or installed capacity of 105.8 megawatts. The wind farm consists of 46 wind turbines of 2.3 megawatts each. The wind farm is renewable energy. We have no emissions. We do not use water in our generation process.
Each turbine is in the string. We call it the string. It is a loop of 7 turbines. Some strings are 5 turbines, but it's loops. And then it's joined by a cable network. From the feeder turbine, it goes to also with a cable network to the substation. Thereafter, from the substation, it will go into the national grid.
And I think the great work that a lot of the individuals do within the peaking environment are done without having or needing the acknowledgement. Within the peaking environment itself, brilliant group, brilliant team that gel together quite nicely.
There's a saying that goes along the lines of, if you want to get things done properly, do it yourself. So the philosophy that we apply within peaking is an in-source maintenance strategy. We also do a lot of the engineering work ourselves. So we have got a highly skilled and competent engineering workforce that will do designs, that will do implementation of the designs within all of our plants, themselves implemented, test, monitor, essentially everything. So we have the fun along the way to make sure everybody feels valued, are fully recognized, and really want to contribute towards peaking success. Peaking's vision is to have accountable, cohesive leadership that ensures disciplined execution in a competitive environment. It sounds like a mouthful, but basically what it means, when I talk about leadership, I'm not talking about managers and supervisors only, but in peaking we see everybody as a leader. So it doesn't matter whatever you do, you're the owner and the leader of that task. So the vision talks to everybody within the organization. We believe everybody needs to be living this vision, and if we do so, we will actually pull the organization forward and take the performance to even greater heights. You know, I always say that in peaking, we don't strive to be the best in Eskom, but we strive to be the best for Eskom.
Okay, so that's my story. Over and out.